Okay, this is parent session number 3. Thank you very much, parents, for being a part of this get-together, this retreat. Just your presence here alone communicates to your kids that you really care about them. And the guidance that you're offering to them throughout their lives and the enthusiasm that you have to be here is really going to make a meaningful difference in their lives. So I'd just like to encourage you to persevere with this material. What we're going to do right now is we're going to go over a couple different things. We're going to look at how moms and dads complement one another, explain the important role dads play in the lives of teens, and then talk about 6 ways moms and dads can stay connected to their teens. And as we go through this, I want you to realize we just talked about that road to adulthood and how the kids are in their teenage years now, they're traveling, they have a couple more years before they get to be adults, there's hazards that are in their lives, and they have flag people that are there to point out those hazards and to give them guidance. And more than anyone else, you're that flag person for them. You know them better than anyone else. You love them more than anyone else. So your role is absolutely critical. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the complementarity of moms and dads. So what we're going to do is I've got this little chart here of mom versus dad. And I'd like all of you to just reflect on when you were young, just some words that kind of describe mom versus dad. And as you're kind of searching for those words, think of when it comes to fun or play, discipline, comforting, challenging you to grow or improve, and activities that you connected with regarding both of your parents. So let's look at mom first of all. What are some of those words that you think would describe your mom?
Maybe soft.
Okay, soft.
Loving.
Loving.
She was caring. She cared about us.
Okay, caring.
Let's see. She was serious. She was
Okay.
a serious mom. She could be serious. But she also had a really good sense of humor.
Okay.
She could laugh a lot. I remember that about her.
Okay.
Let's see. I would say that she was like, what do you call that kind of person? An extrovert.
Okay.
She was like, she liked people a lot. She was very social.
Okay. Okay, and now let's look at dad, and maybe even comparing each one of these words, if there's a comparison word that would describe dad, or it can be something totally different as well.
Okay. Well, I have to say my dad was serious. He was also very serious. So that's like the same. But on the other hand, like my dad, instead of being an extrovert, he was an introvert. He just liked to be, he was to himself most of the time. My dad was responsible. He was responsible. Where my mother would be caring, my dad, he wasn't like caring so much as in a loving way, but he was responsible. He made sure that things that the family needed that we had. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the same, but kind of different.
Okay.
My dad was not humorous. He did not have a real good sense of humor. So that's why I say he's like serious in a different way from my mom. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, he was just kind of, my dad was really religious. He took his faith really serious. My mom was a really good Catholic, but my dad was so much more religious than my mom was.
Okay.
That's what I remember about my dad.
Okay. And what about things that connected you, like an activity that you did with mom versus dad?
Oh gosh. With mom, I remember we went shopping a lot.
Okay.
Shopping, or we'd go out to eat. I used to volunteer at the hospital where my mom worked, so she used to sometimes come in and volunteer with me.
Okay, and then what about your dad?
My dad, I used to pray a lot together with my dad.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. I used to pray a lot. We used to pray the rosary a lot with my dad.
Okay.
And with my dad, I know, we did a lot of stuff outside, like mowing the grass, taking care of the bushes, fertilizing, like outside work.
Okay, so doing stuff.
Yeah, we did stuff.
Okay, and I guess as I look at this list myself, I see many similarities to when I grew up. One thing, my dad loved to play. I mean, he loved baseball, and we actually had a baseball diamond in our backyard with a home run fence, and we had grass that never grew back where home plate was, and running around the diamonds. He just loved spending time with his boys. And when it came to discipline, my mom would say, just wait until Dad gets home. She would always, I mean, she never let us talk bad to her, but we knew that if it came to a punishment, it was Dad that was going to beat our back ends, and we had a healthy fear of him. When it came to comforting, my mom was the one that we turned to whenever we needed something. We knew that she was more likely to give in and say yes. We knew that if we got hurt, my dad would probably say, tough it up, be a man, and Mom would, give us a Band-Aid and give us a kiss as well. As far as challenging a kid to improve, my dad would basically say, sometimes you fail and just get back up and go on, and he'd be telling us about the next challenge that we need to look at, and my mom would kind of dwell on the feelings we had in the moment and help us to process that. And as far as activities, again, my dad, he was the one that wanted to be outside, like you said, doing stuff all the time, and Mom would be the one that wants to sit down and talk about how we're feeling and relationships. So it's really interesting how that plays out, and not every mom and dad is the same. And what I found out, especially in my marriage too, is that a lot of times a person is attracted to someone who's not like themselves. There's someone else that has something that they want. Like I'm, believe it or not, more of an introvert, but my wife is an extrovert, and I just like being around her when she's around other people. And I get kind of caught up in that energy that she has, even though I don't necessarily have that energy myself. So oftentimes you will see moms and dads that complement one another, and that's very important. And you can see that there's different ways that moms and dads nurture their kids. So one thing that we can take away from this is that both mom and dad are absolutely necessary. They're irreplaceable, and they're complementary. Okay? And one word that we use to describe what dads give is control. Okay? So to some extent, they give the kids control or guidelines, a straight path to follow. And one thing, and again, this is kind of research in general, is that moms tend to give kids warmth. So in order for kids to thrive, they need both of those at the same time. They need moderate control and a great deal of warmth. Now, I know that there are some people in our group here that maybe are single parents, and I want to encourage you that God can do wonderful things. He can do anything He wants, and if you are a single parent, He can work through you and help you to be a good mom and dad at the same time, and give you the awareness that you need to bring someone else into the home that can be that. If you're in a home without a dad, there might be an uncle, there might be a next door neighbor, but someone else who's going to kind of reveal those qualities to your child, and the same with mom. So, we're a family, we're an extended family, we're a community, and we need to rely on the gifts of the entire community to be healthy families. Okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about a father's contribution to a child's development. Okay? Fathers get a bad rap, and I think to some extent they deserve it, because if you look at the history of our country in the last 30, 40 years, it seems like men have really focused more on providing things for their family rather than being there for them. And there's been a lot of damage that's created. And if you look at divorce, oftentimes it's the women who end up with the kids, and the dad goes on and focuses on his job and may not see the kids on a regular basis. And that's absolutely devastating. And I think to a large extent the women have done a great job of stepping up to the plate and taking over and trying to be both mom and dad at the same time. And because of that, to some extent, people have said, well, maybe guys aren't even necessary. Maybe kids don't need a father. But that's the furthest thing from the truth. I mean, kids need a mom and a dad committed to each other that are growing and working with their children. And like I said, if that's not something that can be provided because of your situation, we just need to rely on other people in the community to be that role model for them. But research does show that dads are absolutely essential. And there's been a lot of research that we've gone over that shows over the past 20 years how important it is to have that. So again, if you are in a single parent family, it's just an extra challenge, but it's a challenge that can be overcome. So what I want you guys to do now is turn to page 21 in your books. And let me get my book here myself. We're going to talk about the positive effects of an involved father. And before we go through these fairly quickly, look at the references at the bottom. This is not just something that people have come up with and said, boy, this would be nice, but it's all based on research. So there's 3 fairly big studies from 1995 and 1993 that if you want more information, you can look at those studies. But you can see right away some of the positive effects of an involved father. As you look at those, what are some of the ones that strike you as most important?
Well, I would have to say, wow, I mean, just the first one, better able to delay gratification. I mean, that just says so much about, self-discipline. So important, because what area of life doesn't that apply to? I mean, it applies to, health, it applies to, your academic success, your success on the job when you're an adult. I mean, it speaks to almost everything that you do, being able to take care of first things first, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Prioritizing.
Yeah, that's very important, because if you live in the present moment and you're never making plans for the future, there's just a lot of things that you're going to have difficulties with later on. I know another one that really I think is important. You see it says lower risk for delinquent behavior. So there's sons and daughters that both have different ways of acting out when they don't have a father figure. For the daughters, it's running away, it's being promiscuous, because they've never had a male that's loved them, and they're searching for that love. And sometimes they're accomplices in a crime. And for sons, usually they get angry when their dad's not around. They're physically aggressive, they're not compliant, and they get into criminal behavior. So if you look at our school system, you can see both of those problems there that crop up. So again, I want to give you some time to look over this on your own, refer to the research, and then also what I've said before, if a father is absent, there's always the possibility of having other male role models in that child's life. So it's maybe you're starting off with a little bit of a disadvantage, but God can fill in the gaps, and He can give you something even more wonderful. So it's just showing the need for community and how you need to be a part of a larger community. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is turn to page 22. Okay, and again, we're going to go through this fairly quickly. But you can see, and we even saw this from the initial brainstorming we did, there's different roles that a father has. He's a provider, a protector, and a nurturer. So as a provider, he equips, he supports, he prepares children. As a protector, he defends, he guards, and he shelters. And as a nurturer, he affirms, cherishes, and blesses. And then there's some more specific information below that. And as you look at that list, is there any of them that maybe you think need to be added to that list, or any of them that just kind of inspire you, something that you think is absolutely crucial?
You mean from down below or from up above?
From provider, protector, nurturer, the points down below, the circle bullet points, or any of those that really pop out at you?
Well, I think probably for young men, I mean, maybe for boys, a role model, to be a role model is huge, because, I mean, boys need that. They need to have a male figure that they can look to as a role model, and, I think it's important for a father to realize that that's also a function that he has, is being a role model for his sons, and for his daughters too, yeah.
And I know for me, this is one thing I found, is that one of the reasons that your kids need to see both a mother and a father is it's almost like they're watching what a role model relationship is like. So if they're a girl, they're looking at their dad, this is someone that I would like to marry, and this is how someone I like to marry treats women. And if that is a good relationship, then it gives them a blueprint for when they start dating, what they should be looking for in a man. So to some extent, our kids need to marinate in the love between a father and a mother. Okay, and at the bottom it says mothers and fathers are not interchangeable, but they are irreplaceable. And I think that's absolutely crucial to remember. Okay, Susan, you're going to pick up from this point.
Right, well, a lot of what I'm going to say relates very much to what John has said, and that is just simply that for you to bear in mind that that mothers and fathers are not interchangeable, that children really do need to have both a mother and a father, and particularly the need for an involved father is just so empowering for a child because it gives them the emotional support that they need in order to develop really strong foundational relationships with men and with women in their lives. And so I just wanted to say that to you who are here today, really, a huge thumbs up, because this is a very, very important step that you're taking to come here and learn the importance of being a good mother and a good father to your child. And especially you dads that are here, I don't know what it is with TV shows nowadays, but more and more of them just seem to be really making fun of dads and insulting them, and some of those TV programs are making it almost seem like dads are goons or buffoons, or they don't know what they're doing. I would just really urge you to fight that whole kind of cultural scenario that we get from the media, and really hang in there and continue to be deeply involved with your children, because it just makes such a huge difference in their lives. And to you moms, and especially those that may not have male role models involved with their children, I want you to realize that you can go other places. If you don't have a spouse, you can look to, again, a child's uncle, a stepfather, there's an organization many of you have heard of, I'm sure it's called Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and I've known many people over the years that have participated in that as adults, have become big brothers and big sisters for children who do not have an adult male or female role model. And it's really been huge in the lives of these young people. So just make sure that you do your best to provide that role model for them. And moms that do have dads at home, remember that you need to do all you can to encourage your husband to stay very closely involved with your children. Because the way a dad deals with a child is different from the way a mother deals with a child. It's a very unique relationship, and it needs to be fostered. I would also say that, just to remember that whether you're a mom or you're a dad, you can't really say that, a mother is more important than a father is more important than a mother. That's just not possible. Both people are necessary, and each one should strive to be the absolute best mother and the best father that you can possibly be. Nobody's perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. But the thing is that our children can see that we're trying, and that's what makes the difference. Remember, you also have God. God is a part of this equation of the family. He's in there with us, and He's helping us to be the best parents we can be. Again, I can't say enough about role models and how critical they are in the lives of your children. And listen, just because you're, maybe you have a mother and a father in the same family, doesn't mean you still can't provide other very good role models besides the parents. I know in my family we have many wonderful role models. My husband and I are both present, but we still like for our sons to have other very strong role models in their lives. And we made a commitment to definitely provide that for them. So let's look a little bit more about that relationship with our children, and how can we strive to stay connected with our child, and how can we really strive to improve the strength of that connection. That's what we need to really look at very carefully here. So let me just ask you, those of you that are here, what kinds of things do you do to remain connected to your children?
A lot of times when we go in the car, I will turn the radio off, and that's like dead time that I can just ask them what's going on in their life.
Car time. That is like awesome. I have used that many times myself. So car rides are very important. Okay, excellent. Other things, other things.
A lot of times if the kids want to do something, instead of just letting them go to another parent's house, we'll just open up our house so they feel like this is a place that they can invite their friends to.
Oh, okay, so kind of having like an open door policy towards their friends. That, yeah, that keeps them closer to home, doesn't it? And really opens up the communication. I find that too, definitely, with my teenagers. I can see that happening a lot. How about some other things?
Okay. Trying to ask them open-ended questions so that, not yes or no, but, how do you feel about this? And just try and connect with them on an ongoing basis, not like once a week, but kind of on a daily basis.
Right, well, I like that idea about asking questions instead of telling. I think that we all have a tendency as parents, I know I do, to tell our kids things. But really, we should be asking them and seeking, to find out really what's inside of them and what makes them tick and what kinds of things are important to them. So what other kinds of things? Maybe we get a couple more things we can do to stay connected to our children.
Okay. I know we try and eat dinner as a family together, and we always ask what happened in your day that was good, what happened in your day that was bad, and just try and go around the table so everybody has a chance to connect.
Right, eat as a family. We always did that when I was a child as well. Yeah, so eat as a family. I'm trying to think of something that we might do in our house, I think we do a lot of the open door policy with our kids at home, but I think also, sometimes, you know what, we don't have to be saying anything, we just have to hang out. Even if we're watching TV together or reading a book together sometimes, maybe my son will be reading in the living room and I could be upstairs maybe reading, I'll just bring my book down and read with them. So just kind of hanging. That's what kids like to do. So let's just put here, hanging together. We'll put that in quotes so that we know what that means. Okay, good. Yeah, these are all really good strategies that we can use, and of course there's plenty of others that we can use to stay connected to our children, but those are some really good ones. Okay, what I want to let you know is that staying connected is so important because when we stay connected to our children, when something really critical pops up in their lives, we are better able to initiate a conversation about that. If we have a strained relationship with our child, it's just not going to work as well. So I want to then take a look at page 23 in these books here, and let's take a look at some of the tips that we can use actually to stay better connected with our child. These are really important, and they're very practical advice. Number one, be a parent. Okay, why is this so hard for some of us, We are parents, yes. We love our children. We want to be friends with them. We want to know what's inside of them. We want to be close and connected to them. But we also need to be a parent. Children need boundaries. They need guidelines. They need for us to be there to set them. They need us to be there to tell them when they are transgressing them. Children want that. They need that. The second thing would be, stay cool. Any of you that have any experience maybe with teenagers before will realize that kids are powder kegs. They're going through all of these hormonal shifts, and sometimes the most innocent remark on your part will just cause them to go ballistic. And there's no easy way to deal with this, but lots of times we take it personally, and we think, oh my gosh, what did I do? Why are you coming down so hard on me? I just asked you a question. It's real easy to get blown out of whack by that. It's okay. Just stay cool. Just stay cool. Kids also do not like to be told all the time that they're wrong, or that they're doing something that's not right. Praise, encouragement. When you see them doing something right, let them know about it. And I think we all have a tendency to do this because we live in a very complex world, sometimes a very dangerous world. We will assume the worst of our children instead of assuming the best. It's not saying we don't have to be careful. And we need to ask those really important questions, like where are you going? Who are you going to be with? When are you going to be home? But it means that we have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because by giving them the benefit of the doubt, it builds their inner confidence to do the right thing. And we just talked about that. Take 20. Take 20 minutes doing what your child likes to do. So if they want you to go downstairs and look at something that they made on the computer, or watch a video with them, you know, if it's a good video, you know, a wholesome video, a pure video, go do it. It's probably not what you want to be doing at that time. You probably could be doing a million other things, but go do it. Also, you have to realize that you can't always be saying yes to your children. Again, the boundaries. We need to set them. We need to know when we have to say no to something and feel confident in our right to say no because we're acting in their best interests. You have to explain sometimes, yes, but oftentimes they may not want to accept the explanations you give. That's okay. Still explain, but the answer can still be no if it's something that you do not agree with. You have to explain sometimes to your children why you behave the way you do. I don't know how many times I've said to my kids, I'm acting this way or I'm making these decisions for your benefit, not for mine. And we need to remind them of that often. Okay, so just remember, you know, these very, very important tips on getting along with your children. A few things can make a huge difference in your relationship with your child. Okay, now we're just going to take a minute to try to look at some of these tips, and I want you to try to focus on two of them in particular that you're going to try to use with your child. And just put a little star. Just put a little star next to them. Okay?
I know for me, keeping your cool, sometimes I get angry at my kids, and it's just very easy to blow up in front of them, but I'm teaching them a bad lesson by blowing up.
Exactly, yeah.
So I have to do a better job of that. And I know another one, assuming the best, sometimes I just, especially when things haven't been going well, sometimes I just look at my kid and I think there's a dark cloud over them and that everything they're doing is wrong, and I think they pick up on that and then they start acting that way.
Absolutely. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now those are very, very good examples. So like maybe within the next week, you know, and it's good to practice these things, just really take the time to implement some of those strategies with your children. One thing that I did want to present to this group in particular is the concept of a chastity ring. I don't know how many of you have heard about this before, but we used to have them here at St. Michael. And that is a ring that the kids can actually wear. And you can give that to them, and you can tell them a story about perhaps your own past to them, you know, that enforces the idea of the importance of remaining chaste. So if we wanted to take a look, for example, at pages 17 and 20, we'll just glance there real quickly. There's a wonderful little story there that I encourage you to read on your own, and it's called A Promise with a Ring to It. And I just think that this is from Focus on the Family, which is a really wonderful organization. I'm sure you've probably heard of it. It's Dr. Dobson's organization. And it's a wonderful little story. And I think that in terms of what the kids have been studying then together in their small group, which has to do with learning how to become real good, solid friends, what real good, solid friendships mean, I think that this story can be very illustrative. So I would encourage you to take the time to read this and then go over it with your own child. Okay, we're going to go back and meet with the main group now.
Okay.
Thanks so much.